That's the I do pattern. Where you start that I do pattern is a choice. Now, at this point, very often I'll be doing breakouts. I don't think we'll be doing breakouts today. But if we were to do a breakout, it would likely be based on these words as something to reflect on. So this comes from an exercise we often do as part of a discovery exercise, all very high level, not very, not down in the detail, not down in the weeds, but our true north statement. So imagine everyone able to work consistently at their ideal best. Individuals, teams, between teams, across the organization and beyond. Right conversations, right people, best possible moment, needs anticipated, met at just the right time. Now, if we were doing this in a workshop, I'd give you a minute maybe to just reflect on that silently. If we were together in the room rather than online, I might have some discussions in pairs, and then people would move to their breakout groups, breakout rooms, depending on whether online or in the room. What I'd like you to do is just to chat a sentence, or even just a word. If that was working at its ideal best for you, what would that be like? Or you could ask the question, what's happening? But what would that be like? What's happening? 2 questions for you. And just a quick line in chat. I'll count to 10 slowly. Hopefully we'll get a chat or 2 in that time. So what's happening when that's working at its ideal best for you? What's that like when that's working at its ideal best for you? Nirvana, says Brian. Wonderful, yes, exactly. Hard to expect they will consistently occur. Well, for now, we're just going to enjoy it. Then we move on to, well, what stops that? What gets in the way? And you can answer that question now. What stops that? What gets in the way? Again, I'll count to 10 slowly in my head. Different agendas, that's a good answer. Any more? It's hard to be consistent when different people are pulling in different directions, for example. So maybe this question is going to be aimed at Brian. Given what you would like to achieve, different agendas, no, getting more, they're all coming now. So that always happens with obstacles. No alignment toward the organizational strategy, inconsistent skills, and so on. So relative to all of those, what would you like to have happen? Again, one sentence, what would you like to have happen? The outcome that's achievable behind those obstacles. Again, I'll count to 10 slowly in my head. So what outcomes are available to you if you can find a way past those obstacles? Fresh ideas explored. That's a good one. So pride, afraid of being wrong, that's an obstacle. Fear of failure, all those kinds of things. Judgment or judge-free zone. People don't feel judged, and that's where they can feel safe and can be themselves, be their best, contribute their best, psychological safety, and so on. I'm going to ask one more question. So based on those good things that we're now thinking and some of you are chatting, then what happens? So when you have psychological safety, a judgment-free zone, then what happens? Whatever obstacle you had in your head, whatever outcome you had in your head, what happens after that? Establish an environment that allows minimizing the obstacles and let teams add value. Allow teams to experiment. Experimentation, innovative thinking, improved outputs and happier customers. I could ask that again, and given experiments and innovative thinking, then what happens? And probably we get to happier teams, happier customers, all those kind of things. With it doesn't take long. In a few minutes to a few hours of exercise, it's amazing what kind of model you can build of obstacles and outcomes for your organization. And it's based not on someone's prescription of how the process should work. It's anchored in your present reality, but also there's a vision there of where it is you would like to get to. And you are from the beginning bought into finding solutions, finding ways forwards. And you might look at your frameworks to do that. You might look in other places. So I move on from those exercises. I said where you start is a choice. We started with the true north statement there. You can imagine reaching the right customers, meeting their strategic needs. We're starting here, not focus on our process, but starting with our customers. And this is actually, I've just taken a little snippet from our outside-in strategy review. So it's a strategy review that starts at the customer and we work our way in organization, product, platform, teams. So it's a great way of re-energizing a team, revitalizing a whole organization. And we've done whole organization strategy reviews this way, starting from the outside with the customer and the business environment the organization sits in, and working our way inwards, not just starting with process, with capability and thinking about how to develop them, but starting with things that from the beginning are meaningful. So that's one. You could provide your own. If you're a facilitator, you may be familiar already with the idea of introducing a challenge, a challenge question, a generative image. The examples you've seen so far, they're all examples of that. Here's another one. We treat work as unfinished until we confirm that customer needs have been met. This is much lower level of detail now compared to the true north. This is actually one of our assessment prompts. So this is interesting. An assessment where every prompt in the assessment is itself capable of challenging and inspiring. And from the 42 prompts of the assessment, we leave it to the participants to decide which of them are important to them, which ones they want to have more conversations about, which ones they want to identify the obstacles to, the outcomes, and so on, and use the assessment as a way of generating a strategy at a lower level of detail, that sort of ways of working level of detail. And I just want to sort of mention that good assessments are exercises in trust building. We take a lot of care with the wording of the assessment to make it not just accessible, but sort of authentic. Authentically, we are writing statements that we expect the majority of people to buy into. We're not using the assessment to teach people the framework. We're not using the assessment to be a checklist of best practices. If you're really wanting to understand what's going on in the organization, doing either of those two things is inauthentic. And people smell inauthenticity a mile away, and it makes them cynical. You don't want to do that. You want an assessment that is designed carefully. The way you use it needs to be careful. And we use it in a way not to judge people in a diagnostic kind of way, but we use it to have some fantastic conversations in what's called a dialogic and generative kind of way.